Hi, my name is Justin, aka Ghost Reader, and today I'm going to be doing a book review, and that is a review of the book When God Had a Wife, The Rise and Fall of the Sacred Feminine in the Judeo-Christian Tradition by Lynn Picknett and Clive Prince. This is published by Bear & Company, which is a division of Inner Traditions International. This book is out now, so you can go and get it from bookstores if you're interested. So basically, this is the book I actually got to, was supposed to review last year, didn't get around to it. Have shot the review for it, but it was really rambly, so I'm shooting it again. But yeah, so I picked up this book because I was intrigued by the title, and when I read the synopsis, I said this would be really interesting. I myself am a Christian, and so I like to hear some other people's thoughts on what Christian tradition may have looked like, or roots, or the roots of where some Christian or maybe not Christian beliefs come from. In any case, I thought this would be a really interesting book to read. So basically, like the book's title said, this book explores the claims that God had a wife, and kind of goes through all the evidence that the authors have collected, where they say that the God portrayed in the Bible did indeed have a wife, and that unlike today, where we think of him as just kind of like this patriarchal father figure without a wife, that he indeed had one, or at least that the ancient Israelites worship him and a wife figure. And so they go to show that the tradition probably came from Egypt, and that's why you have like the story of Moses, and that someone like a Moses-like figure, even if the story didn't happen the way it is in the Bible, that the tradition had roots in Egypt, was brought to the Israelites, and then once they became established in Canaan, or where Israel is today, they began to, they were worshiping this figure, which they worship at Ashtoreth, which was also mentioned in the Bible, and they worship her in where in the Bible would be like the high places and the groves and high places, if you read like Kings or Chronicles. And so this was something that was prevalent throughout Israel, the author says, Israel and Judah, and did not stop until there was a Reformation, when Nehemiah and Ezra came back from Babylon. The Israelites came from captivity in Babylon and changed things and said that's no longer orthodox or part of our religion. However, they say that tradition still continued, and went to Egypt and evolved into Sophia, the goddess of wisdom, and then even continued into the New Testament era, after Jesus. And actually the authors proposed that Jesus himself was part of this tradition of the sacred feminine, and that Mary Magdalene was this sacred feminine figure, or at least a priestess to the sacred feminine figure. That Simon Magus, who was mentioned in the Bible in Acts, played a big part in the sacred feminine tradition and shaping it and what it looked like, and was a major proponent of it, perhaps even the authors claim a rival to Jesus, and a follower of John. Actually, Simon Magus is seen to be an arch heretic by the early church fathers, and we know about him mainly because those church fathers decided to write about him. Otherwise, you probably wouldn't know much about him besides what's in the Bible. But author's going to say that the Christian faith is in need of a sacred feminine that is not like the Virgin Mary, who is kind of tied to puritanical values, but rather more like the goddess figure that the ancient Israelites used to worship, who was more like a positive or sex positive figure that wasn't about guilt or trying to uphold standards you felt like you couldn't stand up to. So that is a quick, not quick, but a synopsis of the book and some ideas explored in it. It was a really interesting read for me. Not the first time I've heard this. I took a class in college that had much of the same thing, and the evidence does point to the fact that the Israelites did worship, at least a good number of them did worship a feminine figure alongside Yahweh or El. And yeah, so some of the stuff I heard before, some of it I hadn't. I thought that the authors did a really good job of backing up their arguments with as much archaeological and historical data as they could. They made pretty good arguments. in that way. I think my only one quib or like gripe would be that the authors kind of take the Gnostic Gospels. They don't extend the same skepticism that they give to the Gnostic Gospels that they give to the Bible as they give to the Gnostic Gospels, which I would have liked to see more of an equal skepticism to both. Whereas kind of, at least the way I saw it framed was that since the Gnostic Gospels are the alternative, they're more likely to be true than the Bible. Or like the Gnostic Gospels didn't have as much a bias or agenda. At least that's how it came off as being. But other than that, I felt like they did a good job in presenting the evidence, and you're the reader giving a good, ample enough evidence to decide for yourself whether or not you want to, believe that this sacred feminine did exist, or this is one way, this is something that should be brought back, and things like that. So I think they did a decent job in presenting the argument, and for this book, I would give it like a 3.5 out of 5 stars. I would give it a 4. It's just that I think that they had a little bit, I think they should have been a little more skeptical, or at least had the same amount of skepticism about the Gnostic Gospels as they did, say, reading like the Bible or like some of the early father stuff. But other than that, I thought it was a good book. Definitely challenges some of the orthodox beliefs that many Christians have and probably will reject outright. But still, I think it was a really interesting book to read. So, and yeah, I'm not scared of reading books that challenge my beliefs. I think that's something you should do. And should always be evaluating and learning more about yourself and what you believe in. So that is it for me. Let me know how I did in this review. So if you like this video, please hit the like button. If you want to see more videos from me, please subscribe. You can follow me on Twitter at GhostReads28, on Instagram at Justin the Ghost Reader, and on Goodreads. The link to that is down in the description box below. So as always, keep reading.